today it's time for a complete tour of my disco-themed chicken coop. And I'm gonna show you some of the practical things about my coop, some of the fun things, and some of the safety things. And I'm gonna show you how we actually built this coop inside of an old horse stall in our barn.
Welcome to Club Eggstasy. Everybody lose your poultry dignity. Hey, scratch that floor, drop that shell. We're hatching out of ourselves. Club Eggstasy. Plug it up, catch that.
Last year when we were getting ready to move to the farm, I was looking for a chicken coop so that we could transfer our chickens from the city out here to the country. And Steve said, "No, we don't need a chicken coop." I said, "What do you mean we don't need a chicken coop? Where are we going to put the chickens?" He said, "We already have a building for animals. It's called the barn." And I was like, "But they're chickens. They need a chicken coop." He said, "No, they don't. We're going to build a chicken coop inside the barn." And so that's exactly what we did. And we actually took one of the old horse stalls in our old barn and converted it into a chicken coop. And I'm going to show you what we did. So our barn's been through a lot of renovations since we moved here. We had some flooding issues, especially on this side of the barn. But over here on the dry side is where we built the chicken coop. And our barn has 4 stalls in it at this point. And it's now become what we call a multi-purpose barn. It houses different kinds of animals. So we have our sheep over here on one side, and then we have the chickens over here on the other. And the chickens free range during the day, so they come in and out of here to lay eggs and get water and food. And they like to hang out over here with the sheep. And they mostly hang around on the back side of the barn during the day where there's a lot of grass. And I have extra water set up out there. And then at night, they are safe and secure in their coop. This is the human entrance to Club Eggstasy. It's an old horse stall, and we left these doors intact. And I can open this door all the way up if I need to get a wheelbarrow or anything in and out of here when I'm cleaning out the stall, which I do a few times a year. And I had to actually build a separate entrance for the chickens, which we're going to talk about in a minute. Anyway, let's talk about the decor for just a minute, because it's kind of hard to miss. So I've got a lot of fun, kind of crazy things in here, and they're not for chicken enrichment. I have the artwork in here because these things bring me joy, including these flashing lights, which I do not keep on. I usually just turn them on when I have guests over and they want to see my fun chicken coop, so I turn them on. They're off almost all the time, though. It's just for me. I mean, if you're not having fun with your chickens, then what are you even doing, right? So this is a fun poster that I put on the outside of the chicken coop. I put this little shelf right here because this is where I keep the chicken treats, so they're nice and handy. This is a painting that 2 of my older chickens did that I used to keep at my old house. And I've just got some fun things hanging up in here. This is a cool chicken gourd that my sister-in-law gave me. I like to keep it here because I don't like the chickens sitting on the roost bar right there, because then they poop on that post. So I put this chicken gourd here, and that takes care of that. So I had these posters made. I've got some fun little disco balls hanging up. I've got, of course, a disco egg hanging up. This is actually a piece of artwork that I made from my mother's old costume jewelry. And my mom is probably the person most responsible for my love of chickens. So I really feel like this was an appropriate place to keep this where I can look at it every day. All right, over here I have another cool piece of artwork that I made. Someone on Facebook Marketplace gave me this cool metal sign, and I painted it with this disco theme. And then I bought these letters online. They were just some wooden letters, and I covered them with this shiny disco themed kind of cloth. And then this is my nest box, which I've got some curtains hanging in some of these because the chickens like to have a little privacy at times. And as you can see, the 2 with the biggest curtains are the ones that currently have some of my broody hens in them. This is a pretty sturdy industrial-like nest box. I was looking to upgrade and get a larger one so that I could have more chickens, and I was trying to decide, should I get the nest box that has 6 holes or 8 holes in it, nests in it? And Steve said, "Why don't you get the one that has 10? Let me just tell you right now, folks, that's true love right there. 10 it is. So a nest box theoretically can serve up to 4 chickens. I don't think I want to have 40 chickens in here. I think 20 is about my limit. Right now I've got 15 chickens currently, and I've got all the eggs I can handle at the moment, so I give a lot of them away. But I always have the option of more chickens, and we know how chicken math works. When we first moved here, the groundhogs had destroyed the floor of this barn, and there were holes everywhere, and vermin were coming in and out, and we had raccoons and possums and everything else you could think of. So the first thing we needed to do was secure this place. So we took this old horse stall and we built a roof on it, and we put up this hardware cloth, which you can see right here. The next thing we did was put up some plywood on these 2 outside walls right here. This is an old barn. The wood has shrunk a lot over the years, and there was a lot of draftiness, and winter was coming. So we put up some plywood and I painted it all. And then we hung up a couple of roosting bars. So I have 2 roosting bars here. This is a little ladder that I built. They don't really need this ladder, but some of my older chickens, they like it. I can take this outside and spray it off if I need to. And I've made my roosting bars removable. So they just lift up right here, and I can take them outside and spray them off every once in a while, and it's been super convenient. Now, eventually I added this poop shelf underneath the roosting bars, and I love this thing. This was one of the huge upgrades I did here for my chicken coop, and I highly recommend. I can't even believe that I thought about not building it because I love it so much. I use a product called Sweet PDZ. It's like a stall refresher, and it helps absorb all the ammonia odors. And I mix it about 50-50 with a little bit of sand. And you don't want to put too much on your poop shelf, because then you just spend your entire time sifting. And really what you want to do is you just want to be able to scrape it up and dump it in the bucket. I grab my scooper, and it just takes me, I don't know, less than a minute or two to clean it all off. And it really helps with the flies and the smells, and keeps my coop fresh. And I just do this once in the morning, and then my coop is fresh all day. And I keep this bucket under here, and I haul that out about once every 2 weeks or so to the compost pile up by the garden. 2 thumbs up on the poop shelf. If you don't have one, highly recommend.
Fixing the floor was a huge undertaking.
So we put in this engineered flooring, and there's a lot of rock underneath it. Then we put the flooring over top of that, then added more rock, and then we add the bedding on top of that. And this works great. I just have wood shavings in here as my bedding. It's sort of a deep bedding situation. And about 2 or 3 times a year, I will empty this all out, because they really don't get it that messy since they don't spend much time in here. All right, let's talk about this door. This is a big, heavy door. I only open this when I need to go in. But initially, when we built this, I would come down here every morning to let the chickens out, and I would open this up and slide it back and leave it open, and the chickens could come in and out. But eventually we got sheep, and we needed a way to keep the sheep from getting into the stall. At one point, the sheep did break into the stall, and one of our sheep gorged himself and got very sick from it, which is very dangerous, and he could have even died. Luckily, he didn't. So I actually built a different little door here that I could open this up and then latch it right to this one, and then the sheep could not get in there. And I thought this sort of is like a little speakeasy. And so this is where the name Club Eggstasy actually finally began, is when I built this little sheep prevention door. Now, I work full-time as a teacher. I teach chemistry at a local high school about 25 minutes away. And every morning I was having to get up and come down here and open up this stall door so that my chickens could free range during the day. And that was getting old. It was also getting kind of dangerous, because a lot of days, especially through winter, I would have to leave before the sun came up. And we have a lot of predators that show up at dawn. We've seen foxes here, coyotes, the raccoons were here throughout the night, and it was dangerous. I needed a way to let the chickens out once the sun had come up. So I got this automated door and I love this thing. This is an Omlet door, and the reason I chose this door was because it opens and closes from the side, and it had an app that went with it that I could control right from my phone. Now there is a little sensor up here that you can use to set it to the daylight, so I actually have it on a schedule. You may be wondering why I installed my door, the chicken door, on the stall door that I have to slide. Well, there were a couple reasons for that. If I put it on this side, I would not be able to open the door because I need to be able to open the big door so that I can get in and out. I just had to attach the electronics for this to the door itself, and so it just slides up and down with it. Oh, here we go. She heard the treats. Hi, Betty. This is Betty Boop. She's one of my Bantam Cochins. Here comes Olive. Come here, honey. Come on, Stella. Stella's one of my OG hens. I've had her for 8 years. She is a Lavender Orpington, and she is my favorite chicken. Once I got my automated door, I really don't use this little door anymore at all. This was really just to keep the sheep out, and my automated door does a great job at that as it is. So most of the day, coop is shut and it just looks like this. And the chickens go in and out of there to lay eggs, get water, food, whatever they need. In addition to the water that I have around the back, where they like to hang out underneath our big walnut tree. So this is the security camera that I have installed inside of my coop. And I love this thing. It's been super reliable, inexpensive, and it doesn't cost any monthly fees. In fact, I've got an entire other video about how I installed this and how it works. I've got another camera here, right here, installed in the hallway of my barn, and it gives me a view of what's going on in the whole hallway so that I can see what's happening on the outside of the coop door as well. The security cameras have been great for peace of mind. I have actually caught many predators trying to come into my barn at night on the cameras, and it's just been a lifesaver. I highly recommend them. All right, let's talk about some of the other practical things I have in here. This is a separate little cage that I can use if I need to separate a chicken. If it's got an injury or something, I can keep it in here. And I also have a separate, like a sick cage up at the house for a chicken if it's really ill and I don't want it around the other chickens. But I actually also use this as what's called a creep feeder. So when I have chicks in here, I let the chicks come in here with their mother and they stay in the coop with all of the other chickens, but I need to feed them separate food. So the chicks can actually pass through these wires and they go in there and they get food and water, and the rest of the chickens can't get at it and they leave it alone. So my chicks and their mama like to go in this little sort of side nest box that I have. And I also have a brooder box that I will bring in sometimes just for the first few days, that I keep it out here when I'm not using it. It's the VIP lounge for very important poultry. I put a couple of tree stumps in here. Initially I thought, oh, I'll be sitting in here with my chickens and hanging out with them. But as you can see, they poop on it, so that hasn't really happened. But they do like it, just to give them some areas where they can move around, get away from each other, and they do like to hop up on there when they're hopping up to the roosting bar for the evening. I've got my waterer in here, and I do add vitamins to this. And I've got different nipples on here. I've got the regular nipples here, and then I've got like a cup. In the wintertime, I actually drop a bird bath defroster and put it inside the bucket to keep it from freezing. All right, as far as feeding them, I have this cool feeder that we built. It holds about half a bag of feed when I lift up the lid here. And the chickens come in here to eat throughout the day. As you can see, they've decided to stop in for a minute. I have another feeder over here, just a smaller one that's got some of the cup access. I just like for them to have different options because there are 15 of them. Now, after the sheep broke in here to the stall, I knew I needed to really lock things down just for their own safety. So I actually added some safety clips on here because the sheep were just able to flip this open and just gorge themselves. So I have this all like on lockdown now. If the sheep ever did break in here again, this horse stall is about 10 by 12 feet. If there's any reason I need to keep the chickens locked up, they have tons of room in here. This is basically like having a run and a coop sort of in a combo. Another thing that's been very practical is ventilation. Now in the summertime, I keep this area here clear. We've got some hay stored in that stall right there. It's stored up on pallets to keep it dry. But if I had this blocked, the chickens would not be getting enough air. I also have a fan over there just to keep the air flowing through here. Ventilation is extremely important in a chicken coop. Now over here in the barn hallway is where I keep a lot of my chicken supplies. Some of this is stuff for the sheep. And then I store my chicken feed in this great big metal barrel. Keeps it safe from the other animals, and I can lock it down, and I keep big sacks of feed in here for the chickens. All right, I think that's about everything I've got to show you here in Club Eggstasy. I hope you enjoyed it. I've been raising chickens most of my life, and I can't tell you how much joy it brings me. And having this disco-themed chicken coop has just been the epitome of it all. Thanks for watching, and let me know if you got any questions. Thanks.
Welcome to the Funky Club. Everybody flap, flap, flap that love. Shake your tail, let your drumsticks thump. All my chickens in the club go cluck, 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 cluck. Welcome to the Funky Club. Beat to the sky when you feel that buzz. Scratch that floor, let your proud feet stomp. All my chickens in the club go cluck, 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 cluck.